All right, digging into the dominance with our guys. What a finish it was between these two teams. I do want to go positive here in a couple ways, Tyler, but let's start with two teams that coming into the day were in the playoff picture. So I'll ask you the question, did either look like a playoff team to you?
No, and I mean, you're talking about a game or a play that was the most exciting maybe of Week 11, and it came in the most boring game on the entire slate. I mean, you're talking about 6 total points up until that point, and neither one of the quarterbacks is really elevating their teams right now. That's the biggest issue for me. You look at both the New York Jets and the New England Patriots, there are pieces on both of the rosters that you can say, all right, there are building blocks. Certainly, Marcus Jones is one of them, it seems like, on the New England side. But right now, both quarterbacks have a huge issue. And whether or not it's a capability, which I think is the question with Zach Wilson, and whether he's able to elevate his team. And the question with Mac Jones is, does he have the pieces around him in terms of the coaching staff for him to succeed, whether it's Matt Patricia and Joe Judge helping him develop in year 2? Those are the massive questions for both of these teams. Clearly, they're well head coached. I do think that Robert Saleh is doing a strong job there. They've made some great additions over the course of the offseason, had a really good draft. It's just the question of, can Zach Wilson be the guy that elevates this team? Everywhere else, they're budding. Everywhere else, you can say that they're a playoff team. But right now, Zach Wilson is the thing that's holding them back from being looked at as a serious playoff contender. Everything else, to me, you can have confidence in, except for the most important position in the sport. And on the other side, you can question all the things that are going wrong with New England, the offensive line, the play calling. Mac Jones has regressed in year 2, and that's the biggest thing that's preventing them from being a legitimate playoff contender in the AFC.
Yeah, I thought today this game would indicate who's going to make the playoffs, and this could potentially cost the New York Jets a playoff game off that punt return or getting into the playoffs. But you look at both offensive lines really struggled. I think Mac Jones was sacked 6 times today. Zach Wilson was sacked 4 times today. Offense, if you were looking for an offensive game plan or a game, this was the most boring game that you watched on Sunday. But for the New England Patriots to come and to get a big play like that to win the game, it's almost like a walk-off home run in the 9th inning. That will probably propel the New England Patriots into the playoffs, and it may keep the New York Jets out of the playoffs.
Yeah, big moment in this season, and it becomes a big moment once again in this rivalry. And Rick, you've been a part of these matchups and these games where things sort of hang in the balance between one team that seems to have another's number, and it almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy after 14 in a row go one way. Does it feel like that at times when you're on the wrong sides of these conversations?
Well, when you talk about this a rivalry, it's not a rivalry unless you can beat your rival at least sometimes, 50% of the time. You haven't beat them in 14 games, so is this really a rivalry? New England figures out a way every time to beat the New York Jets, and until the New York Jets get over that hump, they're going to struggle to make the playoffs because they can't get through the New England Patriots.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at it with Zach Wilson as well. I mean, he's now 0-4 straight up and against the spread against Bill Belichick in his career. So again, as much as they're building things in a really productive way, I think that if you look big picture on the New York Jets, if you took the playoff implications aside, because I don't think if you asked any New York Jet fan going into the 2022 season, hey, listen, this is a playoff team right out of the gate, I think they'd truthfully laugh at you a little bit. But I think what you could realistically ask of this team is, hey, can you show me signs that you're building towards being a consistent playoff contender? And they're showing you that. They have the pieces in place to be a regular playoff contender, and it feels like they're building towards that over the next couple of years. The only thing that's going to stop them right now is their quarterback. Is Zach Wilson going to be able to take the developmental steps necessary for them to legitimately be a threat week in and week out and year in and year out to go to the postseason? Right now, I don't think that's the case. He struggles really tremendously when he's pressured, and it felt like a lot of times he was sailing the football over his intended receiver's hands. It just felt like he's been a touch off every time he plays the New England Patriots, and I think it's because of that pressure. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL statistically in passer rating when he's under pressure, and you saw that again on Sunday here in Foxborough.
We most certainly did. The question now becomes, do we have a quarterback? Both of these teams might still be looking for an answer. Jones, 246, gets the job done, doesn't get his offense into the end zone. We had to do that in the third phase. Zach Wilson, meanwhile, did not look great. And Yeah, he didn't throw a pick, but also didn't get his team to the end zone. That 0-0 is becoming the way for Zach Wilson, just 77 yards through the air. Your standout here, Ramondre Stevenson, 13 fantasy points, going to be your headliner.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.